Hey, welcome back to the channel. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like you weren't enough? Like no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, there's always something missing? Maybe you've spent years seeking approval, changing yourself to fit in, hoping that anyone would finally see your worth. But what if I told you the only person who truly needs to see it is you? There was once a girl who grew up believing love was something she had to earn. As a child, she watched how people treated her based on what she could offer. If she was helpful, they smiled. If she was quiet, they approved. And over time, she learned that in order to be loved, she had to be perfect. She had to be everything everyone else wanted her to be. She carried this belief into adulthood, bending over backward to please others, sacrificing her own happiness just to be accepted. She said yes when she wanted to say no. She apologized for things that weren't her fault. She shrank herself to fit into spaces that were never meant for her. And every time she did, a little piece of her own identity faded away. Then one day, she met someone, a stranger at a cafe, who noticed the exhaustion in her eyes. The stranger smiled and said, "You look like someone who spent too much time trying to be everything for everyone. But when was the last time you were something for yourself?" That question echoed in her mind. She had spent so many years loving others, but had she ever truly loved herself? Most people think self-love is about feeling good all the time, but that's not true. Self-love isn't just about bubble baths and affirmations. It's about the choices you make when no one is watching. It's about setting boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about walking away from people who drain you, even when you're afraid to be alone. It's about choosing yourself, even when the world tells you that you shouldn't. Think about the last time you put someone else's happiness above your own. Maybe it was a relationship where you kept giving and giving, hoping they would finally see your worth. Maybe it was a job that drained you, but you stayed because you didn't want to disappoint anyone. Maybe it was the way you looked in the mirror and criticized every flaw, every imperfection, instead of seeing yourself for who you truly are. Imagine carrying a glass of water. At first it's light, easy to hold, but the longer you hold it, the heavier it feels. That's what happens when you neglect yourself. Every ignored boundary, every time you silence your needs, every moment you seek validation from someone else, it all adds weight. And one day you realize you've been carrying so much for so long that you don't even recognize yourself anymore. There was once a boy who spent years chasing love from others, believing that if he could just be more successful, more attractive, more interesting, then maybe, just maybe, someone would finally love him. But no matter what he achieved, he still felt empty. Because the truth is, no amount of external love can fill a heart that doesn't love itself first. The moment he stopped chasing and started looking inward, something changed. He began treating himself the way he always wished others would treat him. He spoke kindly to himself, forgave himself for past mistakes, and slowly he started feeling whole. You see, self-love isn't selfish, it's necessary. When you love yourself, you don't beg for attention. You don't settle for less than you deserve. You don't let someone else's opinion dictate your worth. Instead, you radiate a confidence that can't be shaken, a strength that comes from knowing you are enough exactly as you are. Think of a flower. It doesn't look at the flowers around it and think, "Am I beautiful enough? Am I growing fast enough?" It simply blooms. It takes in the sunlight, drinks the water, and trusts the process. That's what self-love is. It's trusting that you are growing, evolving, becoming, without needing permission from anyone else. There was a woman who finally decided she was done living for others. She stopped seeking approval, stopped explaining herself, stopped waiting for someone to give her permission to be happy. She started taking herself out to dinner, laughing at her own jokes, standing tall when she used to shrink. People noticed. Some admired her confidence. Others called her selfish. But she didn't care, because for the first time in her life, she was free. And that's what happens when you choose yourself. At first, people won't understand. Some might walk away. Some might tell you you've changed. But the truth is, you're not changing. You're returning to yourself, to the person you were always meant to be. So, what would happen if, starting today, you decided to stop waiting for love and started giving it to yourself? What if, instead of criticizing yourself for every mistake, you forgave yourself? What if, instead of needing someone else's validation, you looked in the mirror and said, "I am enough"? The moment you decide to love yourself, your world changes. Your relationships improve because you no longer settle. Your confidence grows because you know your worth. Your happiness becomes real because it's no longer dependent on someone else's approval. Self-love isn't about being perfect. It's about embracing your flaws, owning your story, and knowing that no matter where you are in life, you deserve love, not because of what you do, but simply because you exist. And the most beautiful thing, the moment you truly love yourself, you give others permission to do the same, because the way you treat yourself sets the standard for how the world will treat you. So stand tall, speak kindly to yourself, walk away from what no longer serves you, and most importantly, never forget, your worth was never meant to be measured by someone else. You were always enough. You just have to believe it.